howdy. We moved the coffee morning to the afternoon and renamed it Afternoon Tea with Understanding E, which is quite kind of a cool ring to it.
Yeah, it does. And the reason why we moved this was so that the business owners that we have on Understanding E based in the US or in Canada could join us live for a change. And I must say, it went down really well.
It did. And we learned how that mowing the lawn can help you be more productive in your business. Now, it's a process that both myself and Dave use here at Understanding E. Now, this isn't anything new, and you may have heard this called sprints. If you're a developer, it's about taking extreme short bursts of action to get stuff done in short time frames. Anyway, more on that in the afternoon tea session, which you're about to listen into right now. Also, we heard from two business owners, Richard, who was based over in the United States, and Yaniv too, and we asked them 3 questions. And those questions were:
how did your online business start? What challenges have you had along the way? And what one tip would you give to a fellow business owner? And remember that you can join us live each Tuesday by going to understandinge.com/coffee-morning.
So with that said, let's dive into this afternoon's tea session, and we'll see you on the inside. Cheerios! Drinking coffee. So this afternoon, let's start it off with Matt Starr. Howdy, and thank you very much for joining us. So we've been to switch the time around for this meeting. The reason for that is that we've got such a large following over in the United States and Canada now, is that we thought it'd be a really good idea for when you did biscuits. We thought it would be a really good idea to just switch the times around for a week and see how it went. Okay, so we know that many of you are very new to being able to join us for one of these coffee mornings or afternoon teas this afternoon. Jade, apologies about the sound quality. We're kind of doing the best which we've got here, I'm afraid. Okay, so let's start this off by firstly saying thank you. Thank you for taking half an hour or so out of your afternoon or morning, as the case may be, to take the time to come and join us. And we've got something a little bit special for you. It's a double meeting, if that makes sense. And let me just get into the agenda. So first bit is going to be introductions. We've got 2 parts to this meeting. The first part is going to be about stripes, and that will make more sense in a few minutes' time. And also we've got 2 interviews with Richard and Yaniv as well. Okay. And we've also got, for this week, we've actually got quite a lot of any other business to cover as well. It's been an extremely busy week or so or more for it as well, and we've got quite a lot of extra stuff to try and fit into this meeting as well. Now, introductions. I'm Matt. You probably already know my voice, and we've also got Dave with us as well.
Hello there.
Okay, Dave, would you like to do the house rule, if you'd be so kind, sir?
Sure thing. For anyone who hasn't managed to make it to one of our webinars before, and if you've not seen one of the prior recordings, we have one house rule. And as you can see on the screen, that is basically, there is no such thing as a daft question if you don't know the answer. Steve just said, I've asked all mine over the past few days.
Right. We genuinely... Sorry, go on, Dave.
I was going to say, yeah, for anyone who does have any questions, feel free. That's what, it's the only way that we all learn is by asking questions. And Matt knows that more than anyone.
Yeah. You've just got to ask them. You've got to go and find out the answers to these things. So it's a house rule which we've got. There's no such thing as a daft question. There's a chat box on the left-hand side. We'll do our best to get back to you as soon as we can. Again, if it means we interrupt what we're discussing at that point in time, we will do as well to get back to you. Okay. Now, moving on is that you've probably heard us, or me specifically, mention this before, and we believe that 90% of the battle is won just by turning up each day. And Dave, we call that the grind, don't we?
Yeah, that is it. And it's basically the ability to just turn up every day knowing that you have got to do something. You know, you have to, like I say, you have to get your emails done. You have to get so many orders out the door from that have come in overnight. You have to get X number of new listings onto the site. It's basically, these are the things which you have to do in order to get where you want to be.
That's right. So it's not watching TV. It's not sitting there on the sofa. It's actually just turning up and actually doing the work. Now, that's great advice for us to suggest that. But the question is, what should you then do when you're actually online? So let me just grab that. Sorry, just bringing myself up to speed, my notes in the background. So the real question is that what happens when you actually turn up to do some work, and where do you focus your attention onto? How do you gain like this extreme focus on anything within your business so that you can actually grow what you're doing, so to ultimately make more money? And then also, how can you make the best use of your time? And that's what we're going to be focusing upon in this webinar, okay, is the first part of this, because the second part, which is coming up, we've got 2 interviews with Richard and Yaniv, like we mentioned, and Yaniv, I've seen that link you sent across to me. It's amazing.
Is that the link that you just sent to me, Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, really good. We need to share that one later on. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really, really apparent what's going on. Okay, now, this isn't just us, okay, because sometimes, if not all the time, it was feeling like we were just going around in circles. And again, we were using lawns as an example. And you're going to find out more about lawns and why I'm quite passionate about grass in a few moments' time. But the thing is that if we're not careful, we end up going around in circles, and we end up with a lawn which looks something like that. And the thing is that we have days like that. We know that you have days like that. And this is going to be a process so that it can help you stop going around in circles. And that's what we're going to be looking at for the first part of this afternoon. Now, getting into the meat of this afternoon's webinar, which is that to explain this, I need a quick story. And when Dave, when I told you about this originally, you thought I was nuts.
I had no idea where you were going with this analogy. Or I was just like, well, he's talking about grass again.
All right. And again, if I get Dave to go thinking I'm nuts, that I know that I'm onto a good thing. Okay, now, for those of you which don't know, I'm a massive lawn freak. Now, this all stems back to my wedding. Okay, so it's a little bit of a story, and you'll understand where this is going. So part of the agreement with the mother-in-law for paying for our wedding, which was that I would mow their lawns for her. So now this isn't just like a lawn. This is 5 hours non-stop. Okay, it takes me 5 hours on a Sunday to mow that amount of grass which they've got, and that's even with a ride-on and 2 petrol lawnmowers and a strimmer as well. It's insane. Now, part of the agreement with the mother-in-law, and also included in my wedding speech as well, that I worked out that it was going to take me 6 years to pay off the amount in minimum wage in the UK to cover the cost of the actual wedding. It was crazy. Now, if you consider like the lawns take 5 hours to mow, then I bet I had some kind of interest in lawn care. And to be honest, it was a place to escape. You could stick the earmuffs on, and there was no tears, no work to worry about. It's me and the grass. So over the last 2 or so years, now Dave, you actually caught me asking my wife how long we've been married. So it's just over 2 years now. Yeah, so
man points for that one.
Indeed. Now, I read books about lawn care, and again, I confess to dreaming about grass. Again, I'm passionate about this, but the point where we're going this, what on earth does this have to do with running an online business? What does it have to do with you being an entrepreneur and you've got all these different things turning up in your business? Now, where this actually goes is to the extreme. Okay. Now, what we mean by the extreme is that this is an approach that you frequently find in development companies. Now, it's a process called sprints. Now, it's a method that is used for high productivity and short rounds of extreme coding. Okay. Now, this may sound, again, it may be a little bit nerdy, but again, these sprints can last anywhere between about 7 to 30 days. Sprints are short, they're fast, and stuff just gets done. Okay, this is why we like the idea of sprints. But the thing is that that's a little bit nerdy, and we need to narrow it down to something which we can all understand. Now, this might not be the game changer, and it's not part of the big master plan. It's not about earning £1 million or changing the world or growing your business to an obscene level. It's about short, sharp, high productivity where you give it extreme focus. Now, we needed something like this for Understanding E because we're a team of two and we can be very, very nimble. But the point is that we still need to focus. Otherwise, we're just going to go around in circles. And you think back to that lawn which we saw a few moments ago, it's just going to go round and round in circles. Now, going with a US theme for today, Dave, do you want to just explain this one?
Yeah, sure. So the idea of sprints is all about getting results. And like Matt has just said, it might not be the game changer or it might not be part of the big master plan, the end goal, but it is the little goals in between which get you that step closer to where you want to be. And in the perfect US example, it's the Red Sox did it in 2013. They won the World Series in a 6-1 victory. Absolutely smashed the competition.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't just one game which they played. It was 6 separate games. They were each a sprint, or as we like to refer them to, as being a stripe in the lawn. Now, when it comes to stripes in the lawn, this isn't about trying to change the world with what you're doing, etc., etc. It's us adapting the terminology for us so that you can take it away and actually turn it into a process, and which this brings us on to stripes. Now, if you think about this for a few moments, when you go to mow a lawn, you start at one end and you walk in a straight line until you reach the end. Okay, and when you reach the end, you can then turn around and come back again. So you've got a layer of grass going one way, and then you come back and you've got a layer of grass the other way. Now, this isn't about the whole lawn. This is just about the journey from the beginning to the end. And this is what we're calling stripes. Okay. And this isn't about completing the whole lawn. And again, if you need instant gratification, is that you can turn around on that stripe. So when you're walking down the lawn, you're mowing the grass, and as you're walking down, if you want instant gratification, you can literally just turn around. And I'm in my office turning around, looking at the wall on there. You can turn around and see what you've achieved. And this is one of the benefits of doing smaller things as you go along. So you might be trying to earn £1 million or $1 million. You might be trying to change the world of e-commerce, like what me and Dave are trying to do. But it needs to be broken up into smaller things. Now, this could be, so how do we actually use it? Now, this is, so for each stripe in the lawn begins with a planning meeting. Okay, now this could just be you if you're a solopreneur, for example. If it's just yourself with a notebook, that works. Or it could be like with me and Dave. So me and Dave will sit down and we'll plan what we need to do in each stripe. And that's what we actually call them. And if I turn around and look at my whiteboard, I got quite happily showed you what I got on my whiteboard. And at the top, it's called stripes. And so we've got order management, and of course, there's a few little sub pieces in there as well. We've got Magni, Amazon, and web design course. And then those are our stripes. That's what we are working towards. And each one of those entries on the whiteboard is a stripe for us. Okay. Now, a little tip for you would be is that try and get away from your office. Go to a cafe or go to somewhere quiet so you can plan this. And it's the planning stage. You're planning the stripe. You're planning to pull the chain on the lawnmower, get it started, and then go. So instead of just going willy-nilly around on your lawn, is that you're going to do a straight stripe and you're going to charge straight up to the end. And again, if there's more than one of you, it needs to be decided that all parties agree. And again, it's also going to be realistic. Now, this isn't about the big change in the business. It's about doing one small thing at one time. And then you walk off and do the stripe in the lawn. And of course, when you get to the end of the stripe, so when we get to the end of the order management section, so that's Ship Easy and Pick Pack and couriers, and you're going to find out more about those in the any other business section at the end of the webinar, is that once we've done that, that's going to be a stripe on our board, and we're just going to wipe it off, and that's just like mowing the lawn. Okay, so if you're thinking about you and your business, is that think about one thing which you want to achieve. Now, something which you can achieve in a very short space of time, and what we mean by a short space of time is anywhere between 7 to 30 days. So it could be something quick, and it could be something which is a little bit longer. And of course, once you finish that, that is your stripe and the lawn. And yet, yes, it's not the entire lawn, and the entire lawn doesn't look really pretty like the picture which you can see on your screen right now. The lawn looks really, really nice, and all the gardens tended to. Is that it's not about the big picture, it's about doing the smaller things as you go through. Now, moving on, so that was kind of like the first part. Again, it's just really focusing on doing small stuff, just being focused, and actually then just going action and being extremely productive with your time and having somewhere to focus your attention to. Now, last week we heard from Marco, and Marco, just to answer your question, which I saw earlier on there, which is that we've got the recording of it done. Sorry, Adrian, our video editor, has actually been really busy doing some other tutorials for us. He's literally just finished it, and we're expecting to post the recording of last week's coffee morning out tomorrow at some point. Okay, but it should be out tomorrow. Okay, now what we've kind of done for this week, and again, what we would like to do is try and open the floor to you as well. So it's not just me talking about stripes in a lawn or going around in circles or Red Sox. It's to get you involved as well. Okay, so hopefully this afternoon we've got Richard and also Yaniv as well on here. Now, these are two business owners which are based in the United States or Canada. Again, please correct me if I'm wrong in a few moments' time. Okay, and we're going to be asking them 3 questions. Now, before I go into these questions, you'll notice that we're not asking what they sell, we're not asking how much they turn over, and we're also not asking them what their business name is, because that's almost irrelevant. What we're really interested in is the story behind it. How did the business start, and what challenges have been had along the way? And also, what one tip would you give a fellow business owner? So we are doing this live, and I'm just seeing if I can find Richard in the list. So I'm just going to scroll down the list. Let me go all the way down. I believe that's the right Richard. Okay, so Richard, I've just been in the promoted you to a presenter. Okay, and you may need to press the microphone icon at the top middle part of your screen.
Okay. I think it works, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing, Richard?
Okay, hold on. There. Okay. It told me to mute.
Cool beans. Cool beans. So, Richard, number 1, thank you for joining us live this morning, as it will be with you. Can you tell us a little bit more about how your business started?
Sure. We actually started as a wholesale distribution company about 12 years ago. And so we served the South Florida market with the local dealers. And then in 2008, the economy went south. And so we had to figure out ways to come up with extra revenue or other ways to supplement revenues that we weren't doing in the local market. And, we had an eBay account for probably 11 years now where we, used it initially to sell some things that we're just so stuck with, special orders that didn't get picked up, whatever the case. And then about 2007, we started putting a couple brands up, maybe a couple hundred listings. And then in 2008, we really started taking it more seriously. And so over time, we grew it into a e-commerce business. And at the end of the day, today, we're probably doing 95% e-commerce and 5% local distribution.
Whoa, okay. I was going to ask how the distribution and the wholesale was going.
Not well.
Not well in comparison.
Yeah, the economy. I mean, at the end of the day, it got to the point where we looked at what makes more sense. Do we go out there and beat the streets, so to speak, and try to find new places or expand our, markets, go into different counties here in Florida? And when we looked at the time and effort that was involved in going online, or at least with eBay, it seemed like eBay was just the easier path, and so we ended up basically replacing a lot of these sales, but we also expanded to a lot of international markets, which then gave us actually dealers in international markets to sell to. So, maybe it's a little unfair to say wholesale is down to 5% because we are selling wholesale to some international markets. So maybe if I really looked at it, it might be actually still a higher percentage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it was more just the economy's changed, and then a daft question: is it just easier to sell online than what it is via the distribution?
Well, I mean, when you're a small business, and there was 3 of us, and you're putting out a resource and having them go out and try to find new business. Especially we sell performance auto parts, so we're in the business of things that people don't need to live, and so it's hard to find that. And we saw a lot of shops around us closing. We saw other distributors basically embracing on. We felt like we had to do something to continue to go through this. I mean, the U.S. economy was so bad in the first couple of years when it came to our product lines that that was the reason why we went international, because when your economy is bad, the dollar is weak. That means your products are cheaper to the international community, and since we sell name brand products within our industry, clearly there was a market for them outside the U.S. And that's today we are selling 40% international and 60% domestic, based on revenue.
Whoa, that's really good.
So that's how we went from we had no stripes plan. It was trial and error. We over all this time, we basically kept trying some things. We brought on new product lines, brands that we actually didn't make much sense from a distribution point of view, but actually made a lot of sense from an e-commerce point of view. And we've changed. We almost 180% changed the business around. There were also other challenges in a way. One of the biggest problems is that eBay is very easy to figure out what other people are doing through methods like Terapeak and stuff. So as soon as somebody sees you doing well selling one particular product or product line, they're going to start jumping on that, and your competition immediately grows if you're selling brand name products. So you have to really continue to doing things. And I can tell you, like when I started out, my original terms of conditions were probably close to Karl Marx's manifesto and linked, and
yeah, we've seen
anytime something went wrong, you kind of like try to cover that whatever went wrong. And then over the last 2 years, I've started working on reducing them down to more manageable things. And actually now today, all they're doing is just highlighting a couple points that maybe are a little different from the typical eBay policies of what is stated. Because at the end of the day, if you do get into a resolution situation with a buyer, it's going to go by eBay policy. It doesn't matter, what you write in the listing. But it is good to cover certain things. For example, we don't ship everything from our Florida location because we do drop ship some stuff. So if we have to ship it international, we have to bring it here first in some cases. So that adds 2 or 3 days to the processing time. So it's good to put that in there that, yes, if it's international sale, it will not ship today or tomorrow. It will probably ship in 2 or 3 days. It's stuff like that, just to highlight things that might be slightly unusual, and leave the rest of it to whatever eBay's basic policies or whatever you state them to be within the eBay system. And the good thing about going with eBay's policies or working with them is that when you do have a resolution situation, I can tell you that we win probably over 90% of our resolution cases.
Wow,
And
just having clear terms and conditions and just following them through.
Correct. Having clear terms and conditions, following them through, bother fighting it, just sort it out and go on, But, you're obviously going to have here and there that are going to say that they're right, And the key aspect is if you have a resolution case and it's starting to get ugly where they escalated to eBay, if you know you did everything according to the terms and conditions, everything according to how everything was spelled out, then you just contact eBay through the resolution, and not through email, but actually call them and then and work it out with the agent, because then you have as a seller the opportunity to kind of make a little bit more your case. And and that really does help to solve the resolution, because I can tell you, once you get to the resolution stage, that is most likely a buyer that's not going to come back. So at that point, you just have to minimize the damage to your business and move on. So so that's like one of the little things we've learned. The other part we've learned is when international sales are obviously a very good part of the business. You need to not be afraid of them. Initially, when we started, I think we only included Canada as our international destination, then we got a lot of people asking, "Hey, can you send it there?" So we said, "Okay, we'll add the UK." So we added the UK because English-speaking country made it easier, and Australia I think was next. But then we decided, you know what? Why not just open up to everybody? And then we did that. And just to give you an idea, I use a shipping software that we've been using for 18 months that keeps track of revenues and where we ship to. In the last 5 countries outside the United States, including places like Zimbabwe, Lebanon, Jordan, Algeria, Kazakhstan, Belarus, Namibia. I mean, it's...
I never even heard of that.
It's right there north. I always look them up where some of these places are. I mean, most of the time I know them, but sometimes I'm not sure either. But so we found that of those 95, while you probably can say that the top 20% or the top 20 generate the most of your revenue, but even within that top 20, you find surprises. Like one of our top countries is Russia. One of our top 5 countries, revenue-wise, is Russia, and I see Russia often excluded from people's listings. When you look at some of the listings, you see where they're excluding stuff, and it's all the places we ship to, and we have less problems there. I mean, I have to be honest. I have more problems domestically if I look at situations that happen, and so don't be afraid of that, and don't be afraid, even if you make a mistake. And I'll give you a small anecdote here in a second. That the buyer is most likely more willing to work with you. About 2 years ago, we shipped 2 almost identical packages to Moscow, and they got screwed up in the labels, so they got the wrong packages went to the wrong person. So the first person contacted me, and I said, "Okay, now I figured out what happened." And then I contacted the other buyer and said, "Look, this is what happened, blah, blah." So the second buyer said, "Well, maybe I can meet the first buyer." So I said, "Okay, I'll ask him." I asked the first buyer and said, "Yeah, that'd be great." They were about 30 kilometers apart. They met somewhere halfway, exchanged packages, and both of them were happy. Now imagine if I did this to New York or to London. What do you think the answer would be? Yeah, very short one. So from that point of view, don't be afraid of international sales. It's really a good way to expand your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just a point on Russia, it's a very shrewd approach to looking at Russia, but they've either got lots of money or no money, and typically the ones which are online have got money. And I think back to the fashion business, which I worked up in Manchester, is that they got an awful lot of business in Russia because they want and again, it is fashion, so they wanted the UK brands and the styles and the amount of Wellington boots which we sold into Russia was just crazy. And Turkey was another strange country, actually, for us.
Yes, I mean, Russia, and also it's not just Moscow. I've looked up where some of these places. I mean, we shipped in the heart of Siberia. Kazakhstan. What's in Kazakhstan besides a desert and a launching facility for the Russian space program? Not a whole heck of a lot. But we sell into those areas, and because there's no distribution, especially if you're selling Western goods, brand names. In our case, U.S. products, obviously in the UK or Europe would be into a really good business in Eastern Europe. and it's a lot easier for you guys than for us to some extent, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's quite a big pond in the way. So where it takes a day or two to go across, it would take maybe 3, maybe 4 days to actually land in and actually get distributed. Okay, Richard, what one tip would you give a business owner who sells online?
One big tip, I mean, I mentioned this, look at how much money you're spending on insurance. If you're shipping insurance, it is probably the biggest scam in this business. We started tracking our insurance costs over the last 2 or 3 years, and we found that like last year we spent, I don't know, it was several $1,000s, almost $3,000 in insurance, and that was third-party insurance that wasn't even going through the carriers, and we had one claim for $200. So, you know, it makes, and that's with all the international and everything. And I think you need to really start tracking that if you're, especially if you're sending international, the failure rates are much, much lower than you think. You're better off self-insuring it. Even if you use it as a third-party insurance, you got to first get the carrier insurance to agree to it. And once you have that, then you got to go through this third party, and it becomes a 4-week process, you know, by the time you really get all your checks and everything. And if you have a situation where something is lost, if you're self-insuring, then you're much better off, and you can solve it quickly. The customer is happier, and you don't have all this bureaucracy in the way. Now, having said that, we do insure some very high value stuff. Like if it's over $1,000 US, we still insure that. But anything under $1,000, we don't even bother with anymore. So that's one big tip.
That's a fantastic tip, because we've never come across that tip before, and it's a really interesting point. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Richard. I thought you were going to say go international.
Well, I mean, yeah, international and insurance are like the two big things that really we've looked at, you know, over the last few years, and now, and you know, growing the business into actually trying to build a you know, website and combining it all is, you know, being only an eBay business. I mean, people always complain about the fees, but I look at it as marketing costs, and you got to. Yeah, and you got to look at it from a point of view. You can't live off just eBay. You got to find other ways to make money. And you know, maintaining your own website is one thing. In our case, we turn some of the eBay sales or some of the eBay buyers we could identify as businesses. We turn them into direct accounts and selling to them directly. So that's how you basically, you know, minimize the fees. And you know, when you look at it from a point of view of, you know, what's the average business have to spend on marketing nowadays? Probably at least 5%, maybe as much as 10%, you know? So now when you look at eBay fees, even with PayPal fees combined, and then you convert it, you know, put it into the entirety of the business revenue, not just into the eBay business revenue, I think you find that you start bringing that number down pretty well. And now for us, the second stage after the dealers is now to actually try to build something to use the customers we gain from eBay and then market to them properly, obviously, products from the website. And that's what we're hoping to do by the end of the year. And hopefully over the next couple of years, we can double our business that way.
Just using what you've already got, just more effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the
like
key.
It sounds like you've got a great base, and it's just a case of expanding it outwards now.
That's exactly it. If you already, I mean, if you're starting from zero, you have nothing to work with, so that makes it harder, you know. But if you have an existing business and you expand it into eBay, because that's probably the quickest way into the e-commerce business, but then to expand from there into other marketplaces or into your own website, and the system that you guys, you know, are presenting with the Magento and the M2E Pro is really probably one of the first good systems that combines the two, because even eBay's prior system, which was Pro Stores with Blackthorn, was a disaster, you know, and anybody else's shopping cart system. I mean, I've looked at 20 some odd shopping carts. At best, they will import the eBay listings, which then you get all the garbage and conditions and all this and that, and then you have to do a lot of work to edit all of that. So at the end of the day, none of those really work particularly well. And I mean, you can go the route of Channel Advisor, someone like that that'll do all that for you, but just based on our revenue, you know, we figured a Channel Advisor in the first year would cost us $50,000, and for that kind of money, you can hire somebody.
Yeah,
so
2 people.
yeah, 2 people. Yeah, or we, being in South Florida, we obviously have some colleges, and there's you might be able to get an intern here and there. I mean, however you want to do it, but there's there is a case for channel advisor when it's a big business like Sony or Samsung or even a large distribution company going in, because it creates a certain amount of there's somebody calls. So if they lose a person, they can go to them and say, hey, train this new person. So there's it works for them. But if you're a small business, a channel advisor will just eventually just drain you dry, in my opinion. And then it becomes like a drug, because now you're dependent upon them doing all the work, and then they continue to do work. And the 40 or 50,000 that I mentioned, that was eBay only. That didn't even involve the e-commerce side or trying to go on Amazon. But adding to that, we projected that it could be $100,000, $150,000, and it's a drug you can't get off of because you continue to need them. So you're stuck, and that's the thing. If you do the system that you guys are suggesting, is you can start small, work your way up. You can get professional help down the road if you want to, and you control everything. Everything is under your control, and you're not reliant on some other service providing it.
Yeah, this is really curious, Richard, because I don't know if you know my background to this. So I not only worked for MarketWorks, which was then purchased by Channel Advisor, but I also worked for a UK software company called eSeller Pro, which is like the better version of Channel Advisor. I'm going to say that because I'm completely biased because I spent 3 years helping them build it. And I've seen it from the other side of the table. And the thing is that, you do get hooked into the software. And it's fantastic. Let's not knock either of these 2 pieces of software because they are really, really good. But on the flip side, looking at it, again, it's all about perspective. There was always something about eSeller Pro. I'll pick on that company specifically. It's either silly expensive for you because you're too small. You've got this middle ground where you've been in use software like this, and it starts getting really expensive. And then you've got the other end of the scale where you're really big, like you mentioned, like Sony, for example, is that using software like that is just really cheap. Again, it's all about point of views for it. But yeah, you do get ground in. And yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, I worked for a multinational at one time, and something like Channel Advisor wouldn't even show up on a budget line, in a big company. So $50, $100, $150, $200,000, pounds, whatever is nothing, for them as a base. But when you run a small business with 2 people, I think $50 or $100,000 is a lot. So
it's gonna hurt.
So it's definitely something that and one of the things I did notice with Channel Advisor that they were pushing a lot of small businesses to enter the marketplace, and I saw that I watched that for about 2 years, and I saw a lot of them kind of do the 1-year deal, and then they disappeared or went away. So they're constantly refeeding the system, and you have to really, if you go down that route, you have to understand what you're signing up for. And like you said, great systems do a lot of work for you, but is it the best for your size business? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Again, this is why we like Magento. This is why we like M2E Pro, because you're working with open source. So that means that, you can grab M2E Pro, which is kindly subsidized by eBay. But if you want something to do with your sales order processing, then you can go and buy off the shelf. And if that doesn't do what you need it to do, then, you can go to Elance or Odesk, and you have 1 million developers at your disposal because it's written in PHP and MySQL. And yes, I'm making that sound really simple, and the reality is quite different because you need to specify exactly what you want, but the potential's there, and if you can't get off the shelf, then you can go and get someone to do it for you.
Exactly. And the one good thing is if you're starting out with the system like you guys are presenting with Magento and M2E Pro, as a business owner, if you understand how this works, then you have also a lot easier way of defining to a developer what it is you want, because that's the next big problem. If you don't know anything about e-commerce, don't know how the whole system works together, what is it you want? And so you end up with people trying to sell you all kinds of stuff, but now you can go and say, I want specifically a bridge for this, or I need that. You can specify exactly what you want and get quotes. There's people all over the internet, in India or wherever, that'll code things for you at relatively inexpensive costs. And I know like several big companies here in South Florida that are outsourcing all the development like that to India and to I think Vietnam is another one I've heard a couple times. So you can get a lot of stuff done very professionally. In for relatively small amounts, but if you don't want to go down that path, then you pay a little bit more of getting it done domestically, and that's fine, no issue with that. But at least now you can define exactly what you want, versus just saying, "Oh, I want to do all these and these things." Well, okay. Then somebody can come in and tell you this costs $200,000 to do that, But if you say I only want this one little bridge or this one little piece, it might only cost you $10,000 to get that developed, So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the choice is yours. You can have it if you want it, and you're not, again, just taking back to the other providers, you're not paying for 60% of the system which you're not actually going to use or ever use for that to be maintained or supported. You've got the base, and that's what you work with for it. So
exactly.
Richard, I don't mean to be rude. We've got about 20 minutes left
no problem.
today, and I'd like to get Yaniv on here as well. So, Richard, thank you ever so much for your insight. It's been absolutely amazing.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you guys for putting out a great website and a lot of great videos. So I've been spending a lot of time at night watching them and trying to get up to speed on the Magento side of it. So it's really appreciated.
Thanks very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. So, Richard, I am going to mute you on there, like so. And just go and see if we've got Yaniv down at the bottom. And Yaniv, I've just been promoted you to a presenter, and at the top you'll have a microphone button. Can you hear us okay? This is the moment of truth to see whether it works.
I hope it does. Can you hear me?
Indeed.
We can hear you.
There you are.
Yay, it worked. that was great conversation that you had back with Richard, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And I hope that you guys can keep up with my accent. Growing up in Israel, and for the most of my life, I hope that my English is good enough for you guys.
No, it's perfectly good. If you can understand my Bostonian, we can understand you. So you're perfectly fine, honestly.
Great, absolutely great.
Can you tell us how did your business start? Where did it come from? What have you been up to?
Well, as for myself, I'm a web designer, web developer, I may say. And for the past few years, I work mostly with content management systems. I built a lot of e-commerce solutions, at least for the past 10 years. It was mostly based back then on OS commerce solution, e-commerce solution. And I actually took it to the limits. I added a lot of functionality into OS commerce, and then I moved on to do some other things. And when I came back about 6 months ago only, back to selling online, I actually joined forces with my partner. She's in business since 2004. She started with retail and moved on to online sales. She was selling in a lot of molds, and she moved on to the e-commerce sales a few years back, and she's doing extremely well. So in a way, she is my channel advisor, I may say, or something similar. You talk about channel advisors. You mentioned them, and a lot of my customers back then, when I put e-commerce solutions for them, worked with the e-commerce solution. But if you're not tech savvy, and if you're relying on the e-commerce solution to do everything for you, soon enough you'll find yourself under the umbrella of the channel advisor. Because, excuse me?
Yeah, sorry, I was just agreeing as you were talking.
Oh, okay, sure. As you have to really understand what you're doing to succeed. It's not just adding products. You need at some point to start marketing yourself. You need to build all the aspects of your business. And if you don't know how to do that, just a website wouldn't do. So although I built like very nice solutions for my customers, I found soon enough that they need just more than the website itself, and that is like out of my range was at the time. Now, once I hopped into the fascinating world of like online sales, my partner actually introduced me to two different channels. One of them is the online sales using all these tools, just like the one you're presenting, the M2E Pro, which is by far more than I used to work with before. And I'll talk about what made me decide to go that way with Magento and M2E Pro in just a bit. And
yeah, I've seen the link you sent over. It's amazing.
Right. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it in just a bit. I just want to mention that what my partner also is doing is selling on Flash websites, which is something that can be done also by connecting your website to other such marketplaces. Let's talk about a little bit about the Google Trends. I knew this tool for some years. Basically, what it is Google accumulates search results since 2004, and you can search different terms to determine what people showing interest in. And by showing interest means that people actually are searching. Whatever people showing interest in, they search. For example, if there is a holiday coming up, 4th of July or Halloween and such on, you'll see in Google Trends a graph that's rising up towards that holiday and dropping right after. So you'd understand. Excuse me.
Sorry, just me agreeing as you get talking. Sorry.
Yes. If you want to take a look at it, you could, if you want later on, edit this conversation and put some, a nice graph to show how it's working. You go to trends.google.com or google.com/trends. And you separate terms by a comma. So you write the holidays that I mentioned before, or something like I did before when, something that helped me realize what shopping carts e-commerce carts, is the best for me is by comparing OS Commerce, the Joomla solution, which is Virtual Mart. It's a plugin that connects to the Joomla CMS content management site system, and Zencart that I knew, and Magento. Sure, there are plenty of other e-commerce solutions, and the last speaker we had here is mentioned that he went through like 20 different ones before he decided. So knock yourself out and just try it and see how it works for you. But looking at the graph, if you do that, you'll see that OS Commerce used to be a great success. It actually got the most interest in people's searches around 2005, 6, coming 7. It started to drop down, such as other e-commerce solutions, while Magento actually rose up, gaining more interest, and is a very nice place today. It didn't get to the most searches as OS Commerce had at the time, because OS Commerce at the time didn't have a lot of competition. Nowadays, there are a lot of other solutions. So that made it easy for me to choose Magento as the tool that I'm going to base my website on. And I did set up other e-commerce websites just to test what solutions could get connecting with marketplaces. And at some point when I found your channel and I looked at the solutions that Magento plus the M2E Pro plugin, I may call it, offers, I decided that's it. I mean, I have the full solution that I need to kickstart my business. And that kind of brings me to the next question that you guys asked. Let me pop it back on the screen. Okay, I don't have it anymore in the screen because you brought the graph. Thank you for doing so.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. So the challenge I had along the way, well, my way is not that far back. It's only the past 6 months, but it's a challenge because you still need to know what you're doing. You need to set, you need to connect the M2E Pro to eBay the right way, and you need to test a lot to see that you're getting the results that you're searching for. I also faced like challenges, copyright challenges, because part of what we're selling is graphic T-shirts, printed T-shirts, and you have to worry about copyrights. We used, for example, we used Mickey hands. If you search Google for that, you'll find like thousands of search results. Mickey rolling a cigarette and pointing at the gun and like doing a lot of things, and that's copyrighted. No matter, I mean, even if a lot of people are selling it and it looks legit, you have to question yourself and you have to really face challenges. And selling similar product, not just that, but similar products. I won't mention them because I want to keep. I don't want people to get into them, but selling copyrighted material just closed all doors for me. And that brings me back to what the other speaker said. He mentioned that if you work by the terms and conditions, and if you resolve everything or work by the book, as you call it here, you actually facing better results, because you don't want to go where you don't to sell products you don't have rights for. You don't want to change the rules to your benefit. You might benefit from it for a little while, and then you get back to, I mean, your accounts are closed, shut down, and you're facing bigger issues. So I learned it the hard way, I may say.
I'm going to assure you, we've all probably learned the hard way.
Absolutely. Well, it's part of learning. If you don't fail, then something's going too well for you. I mean, that's great for you, but I believe that everybody at some point failed a little bit and learned from it, and the best thing is to learn from it. Now, as for
you're just on the topic of failure. If you're not failing at least once a week, then you're really not trying hard enough. We've got to break something. And Jeff emailed me this morning saying, Matt, the site's broken. Yeah, I know. I was doing an upgrade and then a bit of it went wrong. And he caught me right in the middle of it for it. Again, that's okay. Again, if you don't try, that's just failure in itself, isn't it? That was our point right back at the beginning. Just 90% of the battle is won by turning up.
Absolutely. And I just got there is a question here from Pat. What is the Flash website? In just a few words, I'm not that big on that kind of website because I didn't do a lot of sales there. But basically, while you sell like single items or very slow sales on eBay until you have bigger volume or better products, on the Flash website, it's like all these websites that send like millions of emails to their subscribers, and you just you bring them like a quantity. You have say 1,000 or 5,000 items of a certain product, and they will distribute it very fast, and you're gonna sell very fast. It means that in a 24-hour turnaround, you would probably get rid of all the 1,000 or 5,000 items that you have in stock. So
so you mean right? Sorry, I get what you mean now. It's a flash website. So
yes, I'm sorry.
Flash sales, like something like Groupon, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, it's funny you should mention that, is because I was always maybe a little bit skeptical on what the kind of like power of Groupon was. And a company came to me, and again, to another software provider, they were actually using it, and they wanted to use this integration to Magento back to this software provider. And they were only asking for sales orders. And I said, well, why do you only want sales orders? And then they went on to explain, we use Groupon a lot, and we put a discount code on Groupon, and they go to our website and buy it. And I thought, all right, fair enough. And they said, well, how many sales do you get? They said they get lots. And the curious thing is that they hammer the living daylights out of their Magento website, because all their sales are coming from Groupon, which is a flash sales site. And they literally, the connector which I wrote between Magento and this other piece of software, it just doesn't stop. I've never seen a Magento order page like it. You would hit refresh on the page and they'd have another dozen orders. You wait 5 seconds, do it again, and there was another 5 orders in there. It was just crazy.
Exactly. The one website I had experience with is called No More Rack. When you go to this website, well, as for myself, I didn't get a big impression of the website, the way it's built at first, at least. But then once we put some products, we started hundreds of products, went to thousands and 10,000s of products. And I mean, just by this website itself, with, I may say 20 products, this last December, we made $60,000 net margin. So it's like, it's amazing what you can do with this website. But I mean, people might say, okay, so why are we wasting our time selling on eBay or other marketplaces when we can just, sell in bulk? Well, there are better reasons to sell on other marketplaces, because first of all, it is not likely that you have available thousands of products at a given time. So, for slower products, you want to use other marketplaces. And then again, over time, those sales are dropping. And this is like short time on all these flash websites. You put a product up, and then after like a day or two, you get like a tenth of the sales you made this first day. And then a week after, it's like pushed down, so nobody really make any purchase from you guys. So it's if you talked about sprint at the very beginning, this is how to make a big sprint, but don't rely your business on that. You cannot do that, because once they feature your product, it is not likely to be featured once again in the next few months. So it's good, but for a short period, short ones.
So again, it's just the reason to do multiple channels. So the reason to have your own website, the reason to have eBay, to have Amazon, and the sites which you mentioned a few moments ago, is just basic risk management. It's that you've got a cake or a pie, you've got multiple slices, and if you were to lose one of those, it won't hurt you in the business so much as what if it was just your sales channel. I can see where you're going with that.
Right.
You mentioned a website a few moments ago. Which site was it? Sorry, there was a question in the chat on the left-hand side.
Oh, okay. I didn't look at the left side. It's called No More Rack. I can.
I'm curious because I haven't heard of it either. So. But
that's just one example out of hundreds of examples out there. Like there are hundreds of websites that work the same way. Explore and try and start creating accounts. And that actually brings me to talk about number 3 in the list of questions that you got here for me. The tip that you got for me is, remember this lawnmower, you kept going in straight line and you said, I'm just keep going until I get the end, and then going the back way, like the other way around. It's like the tip I could give is put products into your system. If they don't have the best descriptions, that's okay. If they don't have the best pictures, you'll revisit them and you'll fix it. But just have more products, because the more products you have, the more exposure you have. Taking into consideration that Google search, eBay, and other marketplaces, and once you're there, you're there. Like when people search for your product, they'll find you. If they don't like the description, some of them might not buy it at first until you improve it. Just put products, as many as you can, and as fast as you can. I can tell you that the very beginning stages, like say a month or two into the business we just started just 6 months ago, we put just like say 50 products, and there were 2 sales a day. Then we double it, and the sales just double. So the more you put, the more you sell. As simple as that. The more products you add, the more sales.
Yeah, laws of averages is that I wrote a blog post on it about a year and a half ago about dating. So going out nightclubbing, drinking, and the first approach to chatting up women. Sorry, if you're female, this was my original approach. Being a bloke, which is just to go around and ask if they fancy the snog, and that was my battle plan. And the laws of averages was that the more people you asked, sooner or later you would score. And the thing is, it ports online as well. Is getting the products online. If they're not online, you have zero chance of making the sale. Even if they're on there badly, at least you do. I think that's a fantastic tip. And Yaniv, just going back to the Google Trends, which I think you should be able to see up on the screen. I hadn't seen this before, and when you messaged me on Skype, it was like, wow, because I've never seen that. There's a pinnacle crossover in whenever that was, April 2009. That is the crossover. That's where OS Commerce and Magento crossed paths. I've never seen it visually like that, and it's quite harsh.
Yes, it is very surprising. And knowing Magento before, I didn't work much with Magento, but that was like an immediate yes. I'm going that path. I'm not even considering all the other e-commerce solutions that I used before. If you're trying to play around with it, definitely put some other e-commerce solutions. Now, they might, you might find something that is higher than Magento, but you need to work also in an environment that is comfortable for you, that you find that you can find your way around. Down the road, you can change e-commerce solutions. Right, it's a big headache changing, but then again, if you're not comfortable with the solution that you choose, even if it's like the leading solution, you might get lost there, and that's another kind of something you have to take into consideration.
Yeah, I've just changed the keywords around. So we got OS Commerce, which is just going off the radar in there. Magento is still way up there at the top. PrestaShop is a bit of a surprise. Good point, whoever mentioned that in the chat. So I didn't see the name pop up. OpenCart, it was Richard, thank you for that one. OpenCart's got kind of strong. I know, again, I'm a big fan of OpenCart. I think it's brilliant. But there are some restrictions on what you can and can't do with it. CS Cart, not even on the radar. But PrestaShop, OpenCart, they've got bigger. It's kind of like as OS Commerce died, Magento came in and stormed, and a couple of others have appeared as well. But,
now, let me ask you a quick question. I mean, sure, you can find better solutions, better than others, but do they do what you need? Sure, people like them and they're the best, but still, once again, do they do what you need? Will they take you where you need to get? And you mentioned earlier in the conversation today, you need to like get away from your office, kind of clear your mind and build a plan. My plan was connecting to all the marketplaces. eBay, down the road, with your help, guys, connecting to Amazon. I can tell you that I'm doing right now the steps towards connecting to Rakuten solution. So basically, if any of these solutions doesn't do what you need to, it doesn't take you where you need to go, then even if a lot of people like it, it doesn't matter. I mean, you still need to stick to what works for you. And Magenta not only is the leader here, as far as I could find, but also with the help of M2E Pro, definitely takes me where I want to be.
Indeed. So I tell you what, let's leave it there. I've just realised we've just gone to past an hour. So Yaniv, thank you for your insight there. It's actually amazing. And again, I've never that chart alone is just amazing. I've never seen that crossover before. It was quite a shock to me that it had actually grown that steeply at the decline of OS commerce on there. Now, Dale, I've just seen your message in the chat. We've only got a coffee overdose image, and I'll pop that one up in a few moments for it. So, Yaniv, thank you ever so much for your insight. It was absolutely
Thank you guys for all the hard work you're putting. I really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so
very
much.
Yaniv. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So, right, I've just been unmuted Yaniv in the background. Now, let me just move that out of the way. I've learned loads then.
That was great.
Again, yeah, absolutely. Richard and Yaniv, thank you ever so much. Now, someone did mention a tea overdose. Now, I don't have a coffee overdose, tea overdose, but I do have the coffee overdose image. Okay, all right, on there. Now, before you run away, okay, just a quick couple of things. Just to cover off. Dave, do you want to do these? Because there's been a lot of me talking.
Yeah, sure. So the webinar recording for last week, we're hoping to be live tomorrow, and that can be seen on the URL up on the screen just there. And most people know where to find them by now. Same old place. Hopefully it'll get up tomorrow. And future timings, a quick question to those who are still here. Would it, more for the UK guys, really, do you prefer having these webinars in the afternoon, or do you prefer the mornings? Would evenings be a possibility that would be better for you guys? It's been great to get Richard and Yaniv and Pat on, who obviously otherwise can't make it to the coffee mornings. So just a quick thought there. Does afternoon work for the UK guys as well?
Yeah, it's
understand the school run can get in the way.
Yeah, and again, my kids have come in here in the background, and they've been good as gold, actually. In the background. So it's more like an open question. Does 4 p.m. work better on there, or would later in the afternoon be at work for you? Again, because we are fighting time zones here, is that we've got such a broad audience on there, but the other value you get from today. Cool.
Evening, like I said, evening's an interesting one because obviously that's evening for the UK, afternoon for America, and I believe that allows the Australians to creep in the morning as well.
That's right.
They're there from the future. Yeah, it could be one of those where we where it's almost like 4 a.m. Yeah, exactly. Like 4 a.m. in Texas is a tough one. Yeah, right, we'll have a look through the comments, and like I said, it may end up like we alternate them, morning, afternoon. We'll see. Right, podcast tomorrow. Tomorrow I've just finished up the edit for the podcast that we did with Lisa from iWalker, and that's a fantastic podcast where we look at them taking massive action and how we, are trying to do the same with UnderstandingE. And like I said, for the American guys, you may not have heard of iWalker. They basically do sort of small business loans for startup businesses out here in the UK and Europe, I believe. But they've basically gone from zero to being everywhere in the space of just over 2 years. They have such a fantastic, they've grown massively. And we look a little bit more at the action that they've taken and basically their general strategy of be everywhere. They also do these fantastic meetups. If any of you guys have ever been to one of those before, fantastic. So similar to Cabbage, Richard. Yeah, very similar in that regard.
Yeah, and that's right. We didn't. Just to jump in there, Dave. I didn't want a podcast about a loans company. What I wanted was a podcast about the story, and then they started doing these online meetings, and then the one person turned up on the first one, and then they went from just one person to having a physical meetup of over 100 people. Now that just didn't happen by accident, so that's what we look at in the podcast as well. Dave, the order management side as
order
well.
Management, yes. The Mugento extensions from Jim at Mugento, they are now ready, and we have recorded a few of the guides, but we really need to go and record a few others. Now we've got the actual, because Jim's just been like a feature machine, and he's added in more features since the ones that we recorded a few weeks ago. So ideally they do need to be re-recorded and a few more additional ones put in there. They are on our, they're the main stripe, I believe, is order management guides.
Yeah. Looking at my whiteboard, they're at the top, and it's got two lines, so it's got mini stripes in them as well.
I'm suggesting tomorrow, if we can try and crack some of those, happy days. We will try and get Jim on, because he always brings fantastic value to any recording that we do. And we've also done some courier guides as well. We have UK Mail and Parcel Force. We have those guys recorded, and they'll show you using an extension from Mad Capsule, which are based in Bristol near Matt. We're joined by Mark on the recordings, and he takes us through installing the extension and how to configure it. Happy days. So we have got more couriers to come with those guys, DPD, Royal Mail, DMO, and a few others. Okay, Amazon. Matt, you take Amazon, because you were on the call this morning with those guys. Got their attention in the right way, so we're really happy about that one. That's going to get cut out of the recording. Top secret, much more on that coming soon when we know more.
Yes.
And finally, UnderstandingE testimonials. Sorry, Matt, go on.
Yeah, sorry, Del, I've just picked up your link, which you've popped in a private chat on the left-hand side. Unfortunately, the link doesn't work for me. It's coming up a 404.
Yeah, I got the 404 as well.
Well, let me hit reload. Still showing, sorry.
And quickly, UnderstandingE testimonials. This is me and Matt this morning. We're having a bit of a play around, bit of a sort of a brainstorm on what we were going to do with the UnderstandingE homepage. And what we would quite like to do is get some of your guys' testimonials on there. So if you have found the guides handy, or the whole UnderstandingE sort of piece as it fits, we'd like to get some just a quick sentence or two about how you found the guides, if you found them useful, what you like, and yeah, if you could email us over, or even, like I said, if you've got some Skype, drop it in Skype. Anyway, leave a comment in the forums about a testimonial that we can use on the homepage that you'd be happy to put your name to. Again, if you have and you've got an image, we can put a little picture there next to your testimonial, as well as a link to your website or to your eBay shop. Yeah, we basically just want your feedback, your honest testimonials that we can put on the website.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't touched the homepage since launch. November. Yeah, November, I think, or even whatever it was.
Yeah.
And what we'd like just get some honest reviews on the site, and get it on there, be able to put a name in there just as other people coming in. So a couple of kind words would be amazing. A link to a picture would be ace, and again, just email it across. Our email addresses are quite easy to guess. It's matt@understandinge.com or dave@understandinge.com as well. Okay, so thank you ever so much for today. Absolutely brilliant webinar, and again, just a big hat tip to Richard and also Yaniv for joining us. These kind of insights were amazing as well.
And again, I think it'd be great to get. I know Pat was quite active as well in the chat. It'd be great to get Pat on. I guess he's from Texas. It'd be great to hear his story. So yeah, again, if you guys want to tell us about your business, let us know. We can get you on.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're going to keep Yeah, we're not going to ask you what your business name's called, what it does. Again, we know that's sensitive to you, so we just ignore that and just focus on like the story behind in the background.
Yeah.
Okay. So on that note, thank you ever so much for joining us. Now, me and Dave are going to go away, and so maybe we do run this in the evening for us next week.
Yeah.
So you can include it, maybe move to later in the evening, maybe around about 8 p.m., something like that, so that we can get the guys in from, and girls like Debbie and Annette, for example, in from Australia as well. And of course, that would be later in your morning, stroke afternoon if you're in the US, and it'd be evening time for the UK. So
hopefully we've gone to sleep, so hopefully it'll fit all right.
Yeah, indeed. So we can't say thank you enough. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for being members of Understanding E. And just going right back to the beginning, we genuinely do mean this. There is no such thing as a daft question if you don't know the answer. The forums are there. They're open 24/7, like Steve did. Just ask away. Okay, we're not ever going to take the mickey or the piss out of you. If it's a genuine question on there, please just ask. And you've seen us. We'll do our best to help you and your business if we can on there as well. Okay, so thank you ever so much. Really, really do. Yes. Sorry, I
you didn't find that one in on the eBay webinar, did you?
No, I didn't have that one in there for it. So please.
The recording part will be live on the UE site. We tend to release a blog or so about it once it's gone live. But yeah, we'll give you the heads up when it's live. No worries.
Okay, so from myself, Matt.
And from me, Dave.
Thank you. Yeah, really much appreciated. So happy days. Thank you ever so much. Have a fantastic
enjoy the rest
morning,
of your evening, afternoon,
whatever time of day it is.
Tomorrow, yesterday.
Cheers, Dave. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.